Hey campers, Georgia, back in the man cave. Ever since I got a mail call that had this guy in it. Yep. They call it the Neo 6 OPTIFLEX. See there? It came in a mail call. And you know me, I'm an Opinel fanboy. I love Opinel. Love to modify them. I own a couple. Maybe a little bit more than a couple. But this guy really intrigued me. And I did a video on this, and the comments that came from the video, we need to clear some stuff up. And then, I wonder if I can make it mine. You know what I mean. Let's check it out. So like I said, I was really intrigued by this. And I looked through it, and I got to tell you, I really felt disappointed. And I read the comments, and there were a lot of comments on that video. And one thing, my bad, that I forgot to mention is the reason Opinel did this. Well, it's a good business move. Why? In the US here, we don't have as strict knife laws as they are in Europe. The Euro rules on knives are pretty strict when you compare it to the USA. You know, I'm not even sure what they are. I saw it in the comments and I was like, okay, it makes sense. They did this so that anybody in Europe can carry it without breaking any laws, right? Makes sense. But in the US, nobody's going to like this because we can basically carry any folding knife you want, literally, as long as it meets certain laws. And there's like length and things like that. They're very basic, and they don't limit many knives. But this, well, I don't own very many number 6s. I'm an 8-9 fanboy. And I carried an Opinel, a standard Opinel carbon blade number 8 for years as an everyday carry and for work. And it worked great. I still own it. I still have it. The reason I like Opinel, well, you've probably seen the mods I've done. And they're all on 8s and 9s, more 9s than I think I've done an 8. I've never gone smaller than an 8. One of the reasons is this is awfully small for me. Look at my hand. It's all palm and no fingers. Little small. But I was thinking, you know what? It is a nice small little knife that you can carry in your pocket, unlike a lot of Opinels, bigger than the 6. Or just too bulky to carry in your pocket. I've made sheaths and slips for them, and that works. Say hello to Mary. But this is smaller. And I thought, you know what? Let's have a look at it and see what we can do with a really simple mod. Just to make it more my knife, knowing what I can carry here in the US. Now, like I said, I got this one in a mail call. And as you know, if I get gifted a knife, it stays gifted. Unless they say, you know, do this to it or whatever, it stays the way it is. So this will stay the way it is. Over Christmas, my kiddos actually gave me an Amazon gift card. And I used it to get something that they wanted me to get. And there was some money left over. And I thought, let's get another one and play with it. So this is what we're going to do. This stays the way it is. This one, well, it's going to change a little. Comes in a nice little box. And here it is. Yeah, you all saw it on the last video. Okay. And I do own a number 6. I own this one. And this is the Opinel Colorama series is why I got it. I like, you know, I was at the time looking at different things that Opinel had made. Different size knives, different changes that they're making to their standard Opinel. Here they are compared. See the difference? This is your standard Opinel. This is what you expect to get when you buy an Opinel for whatever reason. And you can see it has the typical blade shape, that typical handle. It locks. It has the, what is the Viro block, I think is the correct name. One day I'll actually remember that. Then you have this guy. Now, the handle looks the same. See that? No real changes there. The blade's different. The obvious change is that. No point. Okay? And this dip here isn't quite as obvious as you see on the saber style blade. Has that little dip and comes to a really nasty point. Very nice. The other major change was the lock. It no longer locks. This is now your everyday traditional slip joint. Yeah, doesn't lock anymore. It's a slip joint. You can see they got rid of the locking ring, and they put this little thing on it so that when it opens, it clicks in, and it's a good solid click. There's nothing wrong with it, so not a big deal. And I just wanted to clear up, personally, I felt kind of bad about it, as the reason Opinel did this. And it was a smart reason. It's a good business reason. How many sales did they lose because their knives didn't meet the laws? So there you go. So this is the one that I got on Amazon. And the list price on these things shocked me. It's about $10 more than your average. So there's that. So let's make some minor changes to it and see if you guys here in the US would consider doing it. We want to keep it nice and simple. You want to make it so just about anybody can do it. Otherwise, what's the point? Nobody owns a huge fancy garage or workshop where you can do some really awesome stuff with this, with the fancy tools out there. Me, not so much. I don't have anything. I do it all here in the man cave or in the South 40 shed, which is out of the question right now because we're at about -17 outside. So there's that. What I'm thinking of doing is, let's put a point back on here, make it a drop point, and change the handle, and maybe make a little addition to the handle, because I saw a couple of comments on people saying the blade is so thin and so small that it's difficult to get out. Well, a very simple mod will fix that. So let's have at it. But before we do that, if ever you're thinking of modifying one of these things, remember that the blade is a single grind all the way down. If you start changing the bottom here, the more changes you make that go up towards the spine of the blade, it gets thicker. Sharpening it and making it consistent becomes really difficult. Keep that in mind. Stay away from changing this as much as possible. Make your changes here. So here we go. So what are we going to do to it? Now, I've done a lot of mods, and I've really messed around with some Opinels, and I've made drastic mods. That's what I'm not looking for now. I am looking for something that just about anybody can do without spending a long time doing it, but you need to improve to make it yours on what you're comfortable with. The easiest thing to modify on an Opinel is the handle. It's just a wood handle, and it doesn't take a lot to change the shape of the handle. And you can see this is your everyday Opinel handle. Everybody knows these. It has that barrel look here. You can see how thick it is there. It goes thinner and goes into this fishtail with the V. You can make some very simple little changes like that, and you're going to see I'm thinking about getting rid of the fishtail, and there's something I want to do here because people say this is really hard to get to. They would like a better way to pull it. Okay, the simple way to do that is to modify the bottom of the handle here. Then we have the blade. Now for me, this blade is just fine. I like a drop point. The only thing missing is a pointy tip. So I am just going to bring it down a little bit here to a nice point. Be careful, look where that is. You can't start down here and get rid of the nail neck. Keep that in mind. So we're going to have to bring this piece here a little bit down and maybe bring this up a little tighter and get a point on it. That's it. A drop point and a little mod, well, or two, to the handle. That's all we're going to do. Let's have at it. So just like all Opinels, they come super sharp. We're going to be working on the handle first because I want to put the point on last. That way I've got no chance of poking myself or cutting myself. So all I'm going to do is tape it up. I've got to protect me and the blade. I'm just using some painter's tape. And you want it open because we're going to be working along here where the blade would be sitting if it was closed. Remember, safety first. And they slicey. It's going to take the lanyard out and then we're going to just shape the handle quickly. So like I said, I want to get rid of the fishtail, and the easiest way to do that is to take this top off here and round it down and just clean it up here so that it comes together nicely. The problem is you've got a lanyard hole, so you're limited as to how much you can take out, because I want to keep the lanyard hole there. I really like the idea of that little ferrule in there. Nice touch. And then maybe we'll do a little bit of cleanup here, and then we're going to take some out of here so that we can grip the blade a lot easier to open it. So I'm going to be putting the handle in here to hold it while I file. Now the problem with that is this slot here. If you squeeze too hard on that, you'll actually break it. So to avoid doing that, get yourself something that'll fit in there, just like that, so that when you put the pressure from the vise on here, it's not going to squeeze into the handle because of that slot. First time I ever did a mod, first thing I did was put it in a vise and broke the handle. So find yourself a little piece of something. This is just some G10 I have. You can fold up paper and squeeze it in there and make sure it's a tight fit. And I'm going to put it in here, and the thicker part of the handle is where I'm going to be in the vise. Now, when you do this, I'm going to be modifying here. So make sure, and don't just tighten it up, make sure you're getting a nice tight fit on there, and there's no creaking or groaning when you're tightening it down. There we are. And of course I just put this on here just to protect the handle. Some vices have that jimping on it and things like that. You don't want to mess up the handle. Let's start on this. I just have a very basic half round bastard file here, and it's fairly aggressive, and I can start removing the wood here, just working slowly down until I get pretty close to the shape I want. We'll use sandpaper and things like that to smooth it all up.
So here you can see where I've used the file to shape the handle. Took away the fishtail look, reduced the big round barrel part a little bit, just on the sides, not on the tops, and just dropped it down so it doesn't look like that fish handle, the fishtail handle anymore. Now all I have to do is start smoothing it out and getting it cleaned up and getting rid of some of the sharper edges here, just round them off a little bit. The next thing I want to do is find where the nail nick is when the blade is closed, and then we're just going to reduce it a little bit around that area so that we have more area to grip the blade. And here you can see just how far down the nail nick is. So that's where we need to reduce it. I'm just going to mark it and then reduce it slightly. Now I have enough room there around the nail wick where I don't even have to use my nail. I can grab the blade and pull it out. It just gives you that much more room to work on to grab the blade. Remember, we're also going to be reducing this area here to get that point. It's going to be a very quick drop off for a drop point. One thing to remember here, you don't want to go this way. You want to go that way because you don't want to bump into the top. Make sure you tape over the steel. You don't want to scratch up the steel.
So there you go, campers. A fairly straightforward, nothing fancy mod to your Neo 6. There is, with an Opinel, there are so many options that you can look at. You can really make them fancy, you can carve the handles, you can reshape the blade. They're fun to play with. This mod, however, is more of a practical mod. Like I said, having looked at the comments and what people said about them, these are the mods I came up with. And here it is here. See that? And basically, I put a point on it, making it a drop point. It's not an obvious drop point, but it does drop off. You're limited to how much you can do there because of the nail neck. Now, but you know it's an Opinel because that. And you can see it says inox, which means it's stainless steel. I'm not sure if you can get carbon in this. I haven't looked into that. All I did, drop point, kept away from the cutting edge. One of the reasons is this is a full flat grind, and sharpening them takes some practice. And if you start digging into this, the thickness of the blade, it gets thicker as it goes up to the spine. When you start grinding away here, you're making it thicker, and then trying to sharpen it so that it looks even is not an easy task, and it takes a lot of practice. So keep to the spine any mods you want to make. It just makes things a lot easier. And then the handle. Now you can see the fishtail shape is gone. All I did was just round it off here so that when it's in your hand, you can see it sits there. These are a little small for my hand. That's the only issue I have with a 6. A little bit too small for me, but that's just, I have a stubby hand. So my palm requires more handle. Took away this here. One of the comments, actually a couple of comments, mentioned that getting to the nail neck was really hard. It's a very thin, small blade. You can actually grab it now without having to put your nail into the neck. You can just grab it and pull it out, just like that, without having to use the nail neck. Now you can still use the nail neck, but this certainly helps. It's basically based on an easy open design on your traditional folding knives, and they put that divot in there so you can get access to the blade really easy. Same thing, when you close it, the blade sits nice and deep, nothing sticking out, less chances of it catching on something. And then of course the lanyard. Now here's an original. This lanyard, it's nice to have. I don't like this material. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a personal thing. So I just put leather on. I thought it suited this a little bit better because when you compare the two, the material, and I'm not sure what it is that they cover the blade with, really darkens it and brings out the grain and everything. I just used some acrylic. I had to smooth everything off, clean it all up, and then sprayed it with acrylic, and then put leather on here, and I put a little bead on just to give it a little bit of character. So there you are. My Opinel Neo 6. And I'll show you it now compared to the original. And you can see in there, the length has not changed. The blade length, all I did was bring it up to a point. It's still the same size, just a little bit more personal. Of course, if you do this and you're in Europe, you're going to get into trouble with a point. for us over here, it's not a big deal. And I like a point on my blade. So much better for me. Nothing wrong with what they did here. Obviously, it has to meet those laws in Europe. So there you have them there. And here's a picture showing all three. Here's an original number 6. It's the color armor, but you can see it has the original Opinel blade. And there's a look at 3 of them. Not a lot of difference, but a fun project. Very easy, just about anybody can do it. You don't need a lot of tools. You can do it by hand. The only thing is very slicey. So be aware that you're dealing with a very sharp blade. They come really sharp. That's why you need to tape everything up. Not only that, when you tape it up, you protect the steel. You're using a file and that. You don't want to nick everything or all the metal and spoil it. So it protects the blade and you. So always be safe. Now they do call it an everyday EDC, and it certainly is. I'm not a big fan of putting a slip joint in my pocket. I'm always worried about the blade. So you can make a slip for it. This is one I just had in my slips that I've made, and you can see you can put it in there and put it in your pocket. That's the real advantage of the lanyard. You can pull it out of your pocket or put it in a slip like this and put it in your pocket and just pull it out. If you want, you can make a sheath for it. Another sheath that this is one I just had. Once again, I'd made it before. You can see it goes in there. This one's the sheath's a little big, but you get the idea. And you can put this on your belt. Same thing again, you would just flip it open and you can pull it out. And of course, put it back in and snap it back on. So there's a lot of options. I came up with this barrel sheath. I saw something similar to this, really liked the idea, so I started making them. Like I said, this one's a little big, it needs to be a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter, but they work great. So there you go. If you're concerned about it being in your pocket or something like that, that's a way around. And that goes for any knife, really, if you think about it, any slip joint out there. So you will be safe out there, especially when you're playing with these sharp and shinies. They sting if you don't pay attention. Just saying. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'll be back. Still fighting this cold cough virus thing. Feeling a little better, but I've still got that hanging on cough. So hopefully you guys don't have to deal with it right now. Outside, minus 20 degrees. Don't want to be out there. So we're going to be playing in the man cave today and drinking a lot of hot coffee. Thanks for watching. Always appreciated. And we'll see you again soon.